Hello, can you hear me?
Hi there, yes, we can hear you.
Is that Michael?
Yes.
Hi, Andy Marsh, City Administrator. We're gonna get started with a work session here in just a few minutes.
All right. I'm glad you can hear me loud and clear.
For that test, appreciate it.
But he
I'll-
said
I'll mute it for
he
now.
can be an engineer.
Good to go.
Okay, hello, I would like to welcome everybody to the January 27th work session for the city of Idaho Springs. We have five items on the work session, and we're just scheduled for an hour, so I think we can get through it. We're going to start off with the Argo easement agreement update. Andy, I would assume we go to you for that one?
Yes, Carmen asked if the attorney for the Argo project could have a little bit of time with council here to talk about a few cleanups, as I understand it. They're pretty, just some benign, that's a great word, thank you, Guy, as I understand it, but they are important and they need to be, addressed. And the attorney with Argo, Mike Federill, wanted to update council on that and let us know what to expect, on our regular agenda.
All right, well, sounds good.
All right, if I may, kind of proceed here. What you have in your packet are essentially 4 different agreements that, kind of as Andy alluded to, are in the form of cleanup. All 4 agreements are existing of record currently. And so what we're doing is essentially just updating to kind of clarify some of the dimensions relative to the easements relative to this project. And as kind of the quick background on that, when the majority of these agreements were first entered into between the various Argo parties plus Mary Jane Lovely and the city, there was still a little bit of, well, ambiguity is not the word, but everyone was still kind of figuring out exactly where everything would kind of play out in a very legal description specific way. So fast forward or slow forward to where we are today, when these first were entered into. The amended and restated easement agreements that you have in front of you essentially are doing just that. There is some cleanup kind of throughout the documents, but most importantly are exhibits, which will now have very specific legal descriptions, just kind of updating to where things are as current. So that's kind of the general nature of this, and to kind of zoom out as to the project at large. If you are looking at your packet in these kind of 4 agreements, the first agreement is the amended and restated easement agreement with various parties. And if I could direct your attention to the first exhibit A of that agreement.
Hey, Michael?
Yes.
Could you give council just a moment to get to the regular meeting packet? We have our work session packet, but right following is the regular meeting packet, and those documents are there, but I just want to make sure council has a moment to get there.
Page 110.
Is what?
110.
110?
And then exhibit A starts on 119.
Yep, 110. And then the exhibit I was just mentioning as you work your way there is 120. And that's kind of the original PD plan development that the parties recorded back in, I think it was 2019. If you look at kind of the depiction here, you'll see what is at the top of the document is kind of what's referred to as the upper landing, which is up by Santa Fe Mine Road. Then you have the kind of crosshatched, skinny, almost straw-like actual gondola line. All goes down the mountain north-south. Then at the bottom there is the lower landing by Riverside Drive. So that's essentially the area we're talking about, the various easements. In the middle of all of that is kind of the broader Virginia Canyon Mountain Park area that you all are continuing to develop. So that's our general overview. I don't know, Carmen, would you like to add anything, or should I just kind of agreements now? What's preferred at this point?
Yeah, Mike. Hi, Mayor and Council. I think if you real briefly just sort of maybe walk council through the clarifications of each, and unless Mayor, you feel otherwise, I think that's probably the way to go. Okay.
All right, so back to kind of the start of the packet here, and page 110. This document has the various parties, and so one of the items of kind of cleanup here, you'll see some highlighted language with the potential inclusion of Miners Point Ventures LLC. Miners Point Ventures is one of the new entities or newish entities that's involved with the broader development. And so the inclusion of my, yep. Did someone say something?
Nope.
Oh, sorry. The inclusion of Miners Point Ventures is a little bit up in the air, pending the timing of when the parties all emphasize this, and when it's recorded. And without taking too far into the weeds here, essentially Miners Point Ventures will be the owner of some of the lots at the low landing area down by Riverside Drive, which is currently fully owned by Holdings LLC, which you'll see listed here. Argo Holdings, part of the development, which has been contemplated for many years. Argo Holdings will convey to Miners Point Ventures a few of the lots, and relative to these agreements, the timing of the conveyance of those lots relative to when this is hopefully approved and signed off and recorded, that will dictate whether Miners Point is a party to the agreement. So I'll pause and see if anyone has a question relative to that.
No, not hearing any questions.
I only see a happy dog, so that's a good start.
Goldie, Mike.
That's
Goldie.
so okay, so relative to the kind of the rest of the document, what we've done here really is just reiterate what was already of record, and that is the gondola line. That's this first easement agreement relates to the north-south gondola line, which runs kind of up and down the mountain there in Indian Canyon Mountain Park. The main pieces of the document as to easement are the paragraphs 2 and 3. Those are the easements that are granted by both the city and by what is called the Mary Jane's property. And that essentially covers almost all of the gondola line up and down the mountain. That was, like I said, that was recorded previously, but it was referenced generally as in like use area 2A. Now we have, if you look at the exhibits at the end of the document, we have the actual legal description. So what are exhibits B and C? You'll see the actual legal descriptions done by the surveyors. And so the intention here is now that we have the legal descriptions to be executed and ultimately recorded, which will update what was previously of record. Any questions relative to that? And I guess what I'd say is otherwise, there are very minor kind of nits and updates in agreement, all of which Carmen and I have spoken about, I guess, over the last few months, and got us to this point where I was able to get these on the agenda here. So I'd open up. Does anyone have any questions relative to this gondola line update to the easement here?
Council, any questions?
This is basically just a synopsis, just for like maintenance and things like that as it's going to occur over the years. Is that what I'm gathering? Like the easements come on the properties for, okay, makes sense.
That's why I'm here to just say yes.
And it's 100-foot wide, just to maintain your operation is generally.
That's right. If you think of it as, if it weren't for this easement, this would be the Virginia Canyon Mountain Park, just city land, and this easement is allowing the cars and the cable cars to kind of go up and down the mountain. That's the purpose of this one specifically.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to the next one. Essentially the same story here. It's on page 132 of your packet. And what this one does is grant the permanent easement from the city at the upper landing. This is kind of the area where there'll be a little more infrastructure, so to speak, would be actually you'll get off the top of the mountain there. So there isn't really any other map other than what we had before. The city granted what was use area, I think 2C, instead of now being 2C, which is on the PD back in 2019. It is now specifically legally described in Exhibit B to the it's page 147, 148 of your packet. So that's the key. That pretty much takes everyone up to Santa Fe Mine Road. And if you're looking at that exhibit B, which shows kind of shape of what the city's granting the upper landing, adjacent to the west is what Mary Jane individually has granted is leasing to the project as well. And if you went south from this exhibit, it would be the gondola line back down. Any questions?
All right, hearing none.
All right. Moving along. The next document looks like 150 of your package. This one's even more straightforward. Essentially, this was another gondola line easement, which basically was duplicative in nature. So all we're doing here is terminating this, releasing it, and it'll clean up the record. So you'll see this one very straightforward. Basically just says we're done with that easement and it'll be removed from the record. Any questions on that?
Hearing none.
All right, proceeding forward to the fourth agreement entitled Amended and Restated Emergency Easement and Access Easement Agreement. This was a pre-existing agreement since let's see, when it was first recorded in December of 2020. Back when it was recorded, basically there were some the exhibits were sorted out of order, so it created some confusion as to what was actually granted. So the goal of this is to clarify the record in that regard. So you'll see as you look at the exhibits to this one, Exhibit B1, but we title Lot 4 Emergency and Access. That's on page 165. Starts there. Legally describes this easement. And if you're looking at, this is the lower landing, if I can orient you, down by Riverside Drive, you can see how it does switch back path. Eventually, as you follow the path and then to the north up the mountain, takes essentially to the start of Virginia Canyon Mountain Park there. So that's this one. And again, that was intended to be in effect back when we executed these in 2020. But this is clean up to clarify that. And then moving forward to the Exhibit B2, one starts on 171. That's basically the same thing, just in another portion of the lower landing, which gives you all access, public access, along with emergency vehicles as required. So that's the story for this one. Any questions on that?
No, hearing none.
So I guess, yeah, at the end of the day, that's the four agreements that, assuming everyone's okay with this, the hope and plan here would be everyone executes, and then we hold in escrow to ultimately record at the time the of these lot landing occurred. And then as to the property for the broader development, we're in a good spot as construction continues to occur and move forward.
All right, council, any questions?
Carmen, are there any concerns that you have with this?
No, ma'am. As Mike, I think really well summarized here, maybe just to put a little bow on it. Nothing here, Mayor and Council, is new. Nothing here is something that was not contemplated or really previously approved when the development was originally approved. These are really cleanup items in the first two instances to really more carefully define the easement areas. And then, as Mike said, the third one to remove something that's duplicative, and the fourth to really just correct an error. These in total guarantee not only the Argo team's access to and from various areas, but our own access, and particularly the last one. So these are all consistent with what prior city councils have approved and done, and this is really in the nature of a cleanup item. And my view is the city should participate in this cleanup because it serves our interest as well as the Argo teams.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right, any further questions? Staff, anything further?
Nothing further.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And we will move on to the next item.
I'm here if any questions of the owner.
Oh, yeah, any questions of Mary Jane?
Well, I think it's a lot of parcels and a lot of things to think of, and then somebody looked at this and said, we need to clean it up, right?
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt there might be something else that could possibly pop up in the future, right? It's hard to imagine that you have to think of all this stuff and get it.
Carmen and Mike have been doing an amazing job.
All right,
Nice to see you, Carmen.
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Carmen.
All right, well, if there's nothing further, Mary Jane, thanks for coming in, appreciate it. Cause you never know.
I know.
I will move on to our second item on our work session, which is the vision, mission, values, and strategic plan. Andy, I know this is something that we worked on over the last few years, including the last council retreat. I thought we had made a good effort on this, but I also would point out, and looking at some of our past goals, we don't just dream stuff up, we actually act on it. And most of these items are either completed or pretty well along.
That's right, Mayor. And this is a bit of a follow-up from our retreat last year. And we had the retreat last May, and it was facilitated by Todd Leopold, who's the regional manager for the Department of Local Affairs. And we work very closely with DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, with so many matters, but not the least of which is funding. They've been very good with us for funding for some of our, particularly our utilities projects. So they know local government and they help facilitate the retreat. And Todd did produce a report, which is in the packet. And it's an executive summary report, so it's not long, and it includes the prioritization of initiatives that was created by council at the retreat. And senior staff was there as well. So there are a couple action items, or at least direction I'd like to get from council, because this is another cleanup as I see it. There are a couple of cleanups. This is cleanup work session as I see it. This has been on my to-do list. One is I'd like to ask council to give thought about finalizing the mission statement. Based on what Todd heard at the retreat, he developed a couple options. And then I think he proposed two mission statements. So what I'd like to ask council is if you have a preference of one of those two options. If you do, that's great. I think we should move forward and formally adopt the mission. If you don't, we can take a little more time and fine tune it and bring it back at another work session. But after the work you did, if you're ready to pick one or the other of those mission statements, let's go with it. If not, again, we can certainly work a little bit more on it. So I'll let you think about that for a moment. The next item is to review the proposed six values and core values and statements that go with those core values. And I think we're good to go on those, unless you have any final changes. Those were really, those are what we came up with. I don't think there was really necessarily a choice proposed there, but certainly council has a final say on it. If you're good with those six core values and statements that go with them, then we'll get those adopted when we adopt the mission. And then finally is the 5-year strategic plan based on the goals and prioritization of initiatives. I'd like to, and that's a spreadsheet that's attached, and that's a little bit granular, a little bit messy. I would propose to just clean that up a little bit, put it in a 5-year plan, a kind of an outline, and bring that back to you. It wouldn't, unless council desires, it wouldn't change the content of it much. It would just get it to a point where it can be adopted by council. So those are my asks, and I'll, Mayor, turn it back to you for action.
All right, well, thank you. I'm gonna go counterclockwise this time. Looking at the mission statement. We have a couple of options. And starting with Scott, you see one there that strikes your fancy more than the other?
I'm indifferent.
Okay, you're indifferent? Jeremy?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
You've got 2 drafts here, and then you have proposed option. That's option, we're not looking at options, right?
We're looking at actually options. I think the drafts were what council came up with at the meeting.
Okay, so we're looking.
And then
at
Todd
options.
put together his report, and then based upon everything he heard, he put it into 2 options that he's recommending.
Maybe you
And
come back to me, Chuck.
Sure,
I was
you bet.
reading the
I was
other
glad to.
2.
Jeremy, one of those look better than the other to you?
Honestly, not really. They're both
Okay,
equally applicable.
all right. I can understand that. Janine, you like 2? Okay. Kate, what do you think?
Same.
Okay. And Lisa?
1.
Okay.
I think 1 is a little more specific. I like the other.
I like when you go too specific, then there's always something that's left out.
But that's, you know, that's true. I like 1, but I can go with 2 and have no hurt feelings
Okay.
on this one.
You're not gonna lose sleep over this,
No.
I'm sure.
All right. And,
So I'll go for 2 if that's the.
Okay, you gotta
No,
do, girl.
I'm good.
See what the
Scott,
guys can come up
gotta
with.
go back
Thank you,
to-
man.
I'm gonna go with 1 because it has the word historic.
okay,
Yeah.
I like it though.
so. All right. And Jeremy, you're still kind of sitting on the fence there, one way or the other?
I like 2 better.
You like 2 better? Okay. Well then, I would say, majority has, settled on 2. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Unless you vote differently.
No,
Put a wrench in
Why
it.
you want to
They're
be
gonna put
stern, please?
You're gonna put a wrench in it if you.
Did you
We
not
need
make dinner
Jim
tonight?
Clark.
What's going on?
by the way, speaking of Jimmy,
I'm fine with it.
I'm not getting off topic.
How's he feeling?
Jimmy is just really, having some, difficult, time right now, health wise, so, we're set up for a tie if we can't agree, right? So, anyways, but, I talked to him a few days ago and I let him know we're all, wishing him a speedy recovery. But we may not be seeing him, for a little bit. All right, and then the second thing, Andy
Mayor?
staff, oh, yes,
May I offer a proposal?
yes,
It sounds like we're leaning towards option 2, and I heard that one council member mentioned that they liked 1 partly because it had historic in it.
yes,
How about adding the word historic to option 2, right after diverse?
Yeah.
Every member of our diverse historic community.
You calling
ah,
us old, Andy?
Andy.
I'm hearing old.
Well, My goodness. Let me just.
Well preserved, though.
Let me just go around, a
That sounds
nod.
great. I think that's a good compromise.
Would everybody be amenable to that?
I like
Okay.
the addition of historic, since that's one of the things that we
Okay,
are pinning a lot of our stuff on.
all right, Andy, thank you for the suggestion.
Okay.
It seemed to be very popular.
All right.
The second
and-
thing, oh, yeah,
Are we still on this item?
no, but if there's something.
So I was just gonna say, what I'll do, at an upcoming meeting, I'll bring back for approval by council, probably by resolution, the vision, which really is already adopted. That's part of that's in our comprehensive plan. So we've had a vision statement for quite a while. So the vision, the mission, which we just, agreed on, and then and the values, which we agreed on, and then, the initiatives, which will be outlined a little more presentable to you
Spreadsheet
all.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and then for adoption, so.
Well, that sounds good. I just wanted to make sure council was okay with the 6 values, that you have there on page 3. I think we all had pretty good input on that. Is everybody all right with those?
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. And then, lastly, the direction.
Yeah, sorry, I guess, because we're gonna redo the comprehensive plan without look at the vision statement as part of the process.
I would suggest it should, yes.
I just-
And then, the last.
As you know, the vision is more aspirational. It's where we'd like to get. We may not be there yet, but we're, where are we going? And that's what the comprehensive plan is all about. It's setting the future, as best as we can, trying to set some framework for it.
All right, and then the last action you're requesting of council is finalize a 5-year strategic plan based on goals and prioritization.
And I'll bring that back to you all at a meeting. So again, it'll just be what's in that information there.
Yep.
So
I
it'll
think the
lay
last
out
time-
the goals and the initiatives and the items.
You had that when we had this meeting, we had a list of our 5-year plan, I think, from 2021.
Mhm.
And that was really helpful to see 2021,
Yeah.
2022.
Yep.
Like, and because we accomplished a lot of
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
goals, so I like seeing it laid
Check it
out
off like that.
And Lisa, I want to point out one other thing I thought was a really good move. This is the first time I was ever involved that we had invited the department heads. And that's a really good tool because it can kind of keep us between the guardrails. I'll just a quick example, we could set several goals that will completely overwhelm, say, Public Works or something like that, so to help them, or rather have them help us with, realistic kind of goals and also just their input on what some of these things may entail. I would like to see that in the future for them to come to the retreats with us. I just thought that was an excellent move.
It brought a lot more continuity, I think, into
Yeah.
getting the goals. complete.
Scott, I agree 100%.
Last thing for you to think about, it's not in my report, Mayor, but just, you want another retreat, maybe we might think about one late spring again. We don't have to necessarily get into that right at the moment, but just thinking about that. And, that's the council's desire, what possible dates.
That sounds real good. All right. Anything further before we move on to the recognition wall?
Would we use the same facilitator, or do you know?
If he's available, we certainly could, yes.
I thought he was very good.
All right, moving to the recognition wall.
If we don't get this done soon, we're all gonna be on it.
Yeah.
This has been on the to-do list to get this done.
You're gonna be the only one not on it.
But I do need a little bit more direction from council before we can order the next set of plaques.
Lord,
That's
we
the
should
most
start getting our
immediate
plaques made.
thing. So we have the policy there. I want to make sure you had that before you so we could, ground ourselves on that. But the most important thing I need is finalizing the wording on the plaques that were, the last round of plaques that were approved by council, the names. It's challenging because there's really only room for a brief description maybe dates of service, what their role was. It can be more generic if that's more appropriate, or it can be specific about a position. So staff took a crack after talking with multiple people who are in the know about what those descriptions might be. So I want to just get to that.
We did also talk
Page
when
11.
John was
Thank you.
here about a QR code that could take you to some of the history. And I don't know with the ease of that, because I'm not tech savvy
We have a
either.
website now that we could.
Well, we could connect it somehow so that you can walk up and go, sure, that's the dates that they lived, this is what their title
A little
was.
bit more information.
But that could give maybe a picture and a little bit more information, which I think would be, especially with Don Allen having so many pictures, that he's I don't know, archived for us, that maybe he has pictures of many of these people. And I'm sure the families, well, I'm not gonna speak for the families, but I would hope the families would want to give a picture to us so that we could have it on our.
I remember that. I love that idea.
I think it'd be cool, because I think people are starting to get into that, like, I know the QR is still a little bit up in the air whether it's safe or not, but. Will you look at me? Oh, sorry.
I just have comments, but I'm.
So on page 11 is a list. It has the names that are currently on the wall and what's stated about each person, and that was previously approved. And then proposed is the next group, and what is proposed for the description. So if you could just let me know if you have any other changes, realizing that some of these folks probably had multiple roles and can remember for many things. We have to be fairly brief, and sometimes it's hard to find dates. I found that challenging too. Dates of a particular service and that sort of thing. So any thoughts about the middle group there?
The second group,
Starting with Fabian Watrous.
Fabian was also on planning commission, county planning commission for
But is this?
many, I think
So-
decades.
For Fabian and Don, are you hitting your word count there? Your,
Probably with Fabian, probably getting pretty close.
Is there any way that we can do like a historical society of Idaho Springs? Could that be?
HSIS.
Can we do that? And that way you could get more information on there?
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, if there's a way that we could have like a little, maybe one corner of the memorial has like a little legend, but that's what that means, and then we can probably, because a lot of these people served on 10 or 15 things,
Yeah.
That could be something if we did a plaque, an actual plaque that had a QR code. Or just a plaque that's covered in, plastic or lucite or whatever with the QR code. You can do their main thing or the thing they were at the longest or best known for, and then take them to the QR code. So that it can be updated or it can be, changed.
that's a good
If the
idea.
family has ideas that they would like to see, or new pictures discovered or whatever, like that allows it to be a little more. There's some flexibility with description and people can get as wordy as they would like on the website.
That's actually a good idea, because then you could just have like very basic information. I guess time of date served means like you're gonna be pretty broad, but like I can tell you that Dee, and you know this better than I do, she was on council way before 1999.
I know so much history about all these people that I could. bring to it.
Yeah, I mean, because I got on
So that's the kind of thing
Yeah,
though, that if we had a
she's been on-
QR
she's on
code.
I mean,
many
Chichi
times.
Bell,
Yeah, but if we
Chichi
had a
Bell,
QR
yeah.
code,
I
People
served
can
with
each get their
her
own
on
page.
HPRC when I was on the first time.
Yeah, because I was like, I think
and
Dee's
she
been on
helped me
here.
start the HBRC.
Yeah, so, yeah. I guess that's, I think your choice of people is excellent. I think
No,
that's.
this was council's choice.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think our collective
Yeah,
choice is
yeah.
great. I think there's so many, but these guys are.
What we were
really
struggling
good.
with is just what to say about it.
I know.
In a brief, in a brief.
Yeah, these are also longer than the original ones, like I feel like the original ones were more succinct, so I
Yes.
don't know if that design wise, if that looks weird, but. Cause this is just like one title and I think.
Do you know how to do the QR thing to do information like that?
Yeah, Dylan and I could like,
And we're doing it at the Argo and.
We could definitely do it, and we could definitely do it. I think that would be a nice goal for the sites and facilities group too, is to do it at
That's
all
a great
of our
idea.
historic
Oh, that's a really good
facilities, and
idea.
then
And the promotion.
it would be
the Bible
easy
stuff.
to have, and I
And we
just
need to
haven't
get your
really had
information,
to.
because, like,
Probably think they could do.
I haven't had that much time to build out the website, but I think a long-term goal of the website would be to have more info about each site and facility, and then it could just take you to each subpage or whatever, and it would be easy enough to do that for a memorial wall as well.
If we have a memorial wall and just a QR code that's under glass and under plastic or whatever, you know, because that may need to be updated.
Right, there's probably a really cool way that you could do it, and it would be really interactive and amazing, but if we just wanted a static website, we could put that together relatively quickly. I think where you scan it and it goes to the page with all the people who are on the wall.
You can make a QR code in Canva.
Right, well, yeah, there's a lot of ways to.
Again,
So,
I'm lost on this.
Just for staff direction, would it be safe to say the council is okay with the names and this brief description for the plaque with the goal of having QR codes so people can have further reading,
Build it out.
right? Is
I
that,
think Dylan's idea of having sites and facility get on board with that, that's their jam. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what the, and that's actually something fun versus all the hateful work that they sometimes have to do.
makes sense?
But I'm also looking at like, Fabian, project support board member, CCC commissioner, like if you're, because Janine makes a good point about how succinct we are in the first set.
Yeah.
And then we get quite wordy in the next set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard the whole, have you read her Quaker County history
Fabian,
book?
it's enormous. Like she was
You could just QR code to the history
she's
that's there.
extraordinary.
Are we gonna ask if the family member wants to put something together for each individual or
Her daughter,
somebody?
I don't know her daughter very well. I've only met her a
Yeah,
few
but-
times.
But it's in the history book too.
In the brown book?
Mhm.
Oh,
That could
there
be
you go.
linked into the.
That's what I'm saying,
Linked onto
yeah.
our website, so you can go see more.
Oh, the brown book would be awesome.
Well,
Have they digitized that?
not that I know of.
No, but it's easy to do that.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
I think one thing that we might do though is if we nominate somebody for this, we contact the family and ask, is there something you would like to see? Like you feel strongly about being included?
Content.
Or is there something that they were more proud of than anything else? Were they more proud of being mayor or project support or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
what would the person identify themselves as first and foremost? That might help us with our
Sure.
descriptions.
All right, do we need anything further?
Yes, so, I'll
Wait.
work on, shortening those a little bit.
Okay,
Maybe some abbreviations that
Gotcha.
are pretty commonly known, like HSIS and those sorts of
Yeah.
things. And we'll follow up with sites and facilities on maybe getting a link or some sort. Because this wall is gonna be here in perpetuity and we wanna
Exactly.
make sure it continues on. The next thing I'd like to ask is that we get back in a cycle of
Additional
nominations.
So it looks like beginning in 2017.
I know.
Accepted annually.
Little embarrassed by that. But this actually by the policy that was adopted by council a ways back is the time of year that we accept nominations.
Yep.
So what I'd like to suggest is that we have the deputy city clerk post a notice, maybe in the paper, or put it on our website, maybe be able to get it out some other ways to say that council's accepting nominations. And then bring them back here for council consideration.
Maybe talk to Chris on the current as well.
You mean put it in the paper?
Put it in the paper, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think I already have a couple off the top of my head that I would like to
Certainly
see.
council can bring names to the
Yeah.
table too. So this will be another work session where we.
And do you mind taking a note, because my brain is not working, is Dennis Lundberry?
Yep.
And Rick Albers.
And then it says there's gonna be some form of ceremony each year in the spring.
Yes, and that's the final thing. The policy does say we should have some sort
I
of
saw that.
ceremony.
Yep.
And I know we did it one year, but we really haven't gotten into a cycle with that. So I would suggest we might want to think about doing it with some other event in the city, maybe, I don't know. 4th of July is kind of busy, but maybe some other event where it kind of falls naturally that we have this event and then there's some other events where people are already in town.
Is there a national Remembrance Day? That's obviously Memorial Day is for veterans, but is there a national like volunteer Remembrance Day?
Probably, yeah.
I bet you there is.
So that's not
Wow,
something,
racist.
I can bring that back to council maybe with some suggestions, but I just wanted you all to be thinking about that, that really we ought to have a bit of a ceremony. I think the easier we can make it, it always falls on this date or always falls with this event. That way it'll be a little easier to say, okay, it's time.
April 20th,
All right.
volunteer recognition day.
Well, it could still be like blizzard.
I'm sorry, what day is it?
April 20th,
April
April 20th?
it could still be blizzard.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
I don't know. All of them.
National Day of Service and Remembrance is September 11th, but,
Sounds like party time.
and then national, but that's.
Nobody will
Donna, that doesn't really-
Everybody be mellow.
Yeah.
Plenty of snacks.
No more-
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right,
plenty of
that's
snacks.
on the
Maybe
level.
like the second weekend in May when we have a chance
Forget
to be melted.
I probably will anyways.
It snows every April, like we get some crazy snow every April, I would say the
I can hope,
second
man.
of
So-
May.
Mayor, we'll get the notice out that we're accepting nominations. We'll put a deadline in there. This is a good time also because we also do a formal solicitation for people to be on boards and commissions
Yes,
at this time of year.
That's a great segue, Andy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
it's out there.
Back to
Janine
you.
was sending it out to our neighbors.
Anything further before we move on? And this is why I was teasing about great segue. So we need appointment to the Regional Resilience Team rep. And I thought there was a very good suggestion from Lisa and Kate about having a primary and an alternate, just in case members can't be there. And not to put words in your mouth, but I thought the two of you might be interested.
I'm good, but you guys had not decided on a day, so it's gonna be like, am I here in town?
Well, and we can't because that will be up to the new
What's the
board
other
as far
board?
as the time and the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely interested, but I do work, I'm like a regular peon, I don't have any control over my schedule. Now, that being said, Libby would definitely like let me step in, I think it's only meeting, what, every 3?
Was it every other month?
That was every other month.
I don't recall.
I'm sure I can
think
work
it
it out,
was.
by the way, guys, I'm sure I
I
can.
think it was. Is anyone else interested in that?
I could do your second, but and also we're looking at the board of directors for housing authority.
No, I
Would
was
you
gonna
rather
get
do
to that.
that as a primary?
I really wanna do that, but I don't know what my schedule will be shifting every 4 months and it's a 24-hour shop. So I don't know what my schedule is.
Can you Zoom? Can you
Okay,
Zoom?
now, I don't know. And that may again be up to the board and where they meet
You won't be able
as
to.
much as anything else.
Yep.
Because obviously some places do have that capability. So just with sticking with the resilience team, is there anyone else that's interested?
I can definitely be the primary on that.
Let me find out my schedule and I might be able to fill in for you.
Yeah, and then obviously.
For now, Lisa, you'd be all right being the second. We can always change this if for some
Sure,
reason,
sure.
just, it's not written in stone. I want everybody to know that.
Cool.
All right, so we'll have Kate Collier as primary and Lisa as alternate.
That's on the.
Resilience, the economic resilience team.
Right.
And then secondly, and this one I gotta say, I think is another really interesting, and there's gonna be quite a bit of discussion on the Clear Creek County Regional Housing Authority. I'd like to know who all is interested in representing.
I would like to be the alternate on that, because I feel like I'm gonna be in that conversation quite a bit, but I don't know that I can commit to another.
I can also be an alternate on that one, but
I'm interested, but I was just pointing to G-Rock, everyone. I gave
What's
it to the
G-Rock?
Rockies opioid council as their municipal representative. So I also don't want to overcommit myself, so if anyone else is interested, I also want to share the love. But I am interested if no one else wants to do it.
Okay, anyone else? All right,
Avoiding eye contact over there. We must know.
there's no pressure. But
Do you have any ideas about, do they know anything about days and times?
And I don't
Frequency.
think they do, because and here, we're even going to be reaching out, working with other municipalities in the county. So you talk about
trying to coordinate.
Yeah,
This
this
is
will
gonna be a
be,
cat herding
it
situation.
will be.
It sounds like it's gonna be, but the economic development Zoom meeting does very well. And I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be an option for them to do, so you don't have to travel up and down that corridor, you could just call from your spot, but like you said, it's not up to us, it's up to them.
Kate, you would like to be an alternate on the housing?
Yes. Somebody's gonna have to remind me I said this in near future.
And then, Janine, you may be able to be primary depending on when they are meeting.
Yeah, I have a
And-
fair bit of
And
flexibility.
Lisa, how are you set?
I could do an alternate as well, like if they were not available, just my schedule is so up in the air right now.
All right?
But I'm very, like, I'm with you.
Cause look, I don't see a thing wrong with having two alternates. I mean, until we see how this shakes out, because it may just be attrition that you know, we can only meet on certain days and one or maybe conceivably even all three aren't available. You know, it just depends on how this shakes out. So, Andy, why don't we put Janine down as primary?
Okay.
And we will, have, Kate as second on housing, with Lisa also as a backup.
Okay.
And we'll see what dates and times they come up with as a group to see if they're able to, you know, to hang with that. But in the meantime, we've got, some names and numbers for people to meet.
And we as staff are gonna be heavily involved in the housing authority, getting it up and running. That's gonna be a huge undertaking.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but
everything
it's
from getting
So
organized
excited for
to
it.
hiring an executive director to, we have already several projects in the wings right now, as you know, just that, so Guy, will probably be our primary staff person. I'll be involved, Dylan will be involved. So there'll be some staff support there as well, but it's important that we do get this board, formed.
And, you're probably already well aware of this, but there are literally hundreds of millions of dollars available just in the state of Colorado. If you have an organization, especially that's working with other municipalities, you score higher. And, then depending on which one you go for, you have to have some grant money qualifier, like Proposition, 123 can go up to $4 million, and municipalities get grants, right? Frito, where nonprofits get low interest loans. So this is gonna be really interesting, and each entity has the right to go after one every year. So depending on how it's laid out, there could be even more than a couple going on in the county at one time.
Isn't Empire looking at areas to, like Empire has that, did I not hear that somewhere that Empire has?
Lisa, you did, and that might have been through me, just because I was guesstimating that some municipalities may not be able to contribute much.
Oh, no, I thought they had like some kind of ideas about how, like, where we could put.
Oh, and that's where I was going.
Housing, yeah.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
I was pointing out just that some municipalities may not have a lot of financial wherewithal, but they may be able to volunteer time with staff, and they may actually have a land. And I had just thought at Empire, I have since been corrected. Empire feels that they have very little land that could be for this. So anyways, you know, we'll see. But it's something we can talk about, you know, as
With our senior center, like the one that we are committed to.
that is gonna be, I think, a great thing for decades to come for this whole county. Because, you know, it's been I will call more than a soft spot in my heart, where you could live 95 years of your life in this county. And as soon as you start needing help bathing or getting dressed, we may not even ship you to an adjacent county. They may have a bed for you in Aurora. And now you're like really never getting a family visit because of the busy lives we all live. So, you know, I think that we should at the very least have some kind of a smaller transitional care, you know, where you could get some assisted living and age in place, like so many other communities have. And it's just a crime. We're not alone. Gilpin County's in the same boat. where you're not staying in that county.
But also, if you remember, if any of you guys, most of you were at the meeting in September for what is gonna happen to Carlson. What was the overwhelming thing we kept seeing? Third spaces, you know, for people in the community and senior housing. So like, that's what we kept hearing. That's what our constituents are telling us is so that would be one of my suggestions for that is we go after something to help our senior project.
And just to pile on, Gilpin County and Clark Creek County are the two oldest average aged
12 years.
counties in the state. And also, you know, while Idaho Springs has secured this property, I could see a future where it's part of a multi-jurisdictional housing authority where, you know, and there will be a lot of units there. But just like our project support, our current senior housing is affordable. And it's county resident is number one priority. Parents, it's technically relatives of county residents are in the second priority because you may have a child that needs full-time help, or you may have a parent that's getting elderly that you would like to live near you. So that I think that makes pretty good sense. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but I could see us doing something similar to that. And we talked a lot about affordable housing. And this is just another legitimate form of affordable housing. It's just that seniors are often that is left out of the equation often. But you know, some of us, when we're younger, have years that we can recover. But you know, if you are 85 and run into a jam where you need some affordable housing, you know, you can't exactly get that second job. So it's more dire, I would suggest.
Well, I also think I think it's going to be a challenge for you, Ms. Jean, because I already see, not in my backyard, but some of our fellow communities who don't want multi-unit housing. And I'm like, where do you think we're gonna put them? We all gotta share this burden together.
And Lisa, that's very perceptive of you because we already have seen a little bit of that.
Yes, we have.
Because of the placement of where we would have senior affordable housing, probably wouldn't run into that. But with other affordable housing units, yeah, I think you're exactly right. Hey, I was gonna give Mary Jane a minute. And I'm afraid I don't see her out here. But a few days ago, we lost Dana Crawford. She passed away. You may have seen it on the news. And of course, she was part owner of the Argo. And just what a visionary and a trailblazer. You know, back when nobody was saving
Colorado is
old
due to her.
buildings, you know, in the 60s. And she was a trailblazer in another sense because there were not, it was almost unheard of for women to be doing that. And, you know, she did it, and she did it quite successfully. And here she was all these years later, still doing probably some of her best work ever, including that West Rialto, I believe is the name of the 1,000-seat theater down in Trinidad that's being restored right now as we speak. She was involved with that as well. So anyways, and a good friend and mentor of Mary Jane's. But if she does come back in, I will probably have her put herself down for a public comment just because I think she would like to address us on the record for a minute or two. Anything further? All right. So we got about 6 minutes before the regular council meeting. Thank you, everybody, and we'll be back here at 7.
Thank you, Andy. You're fine. Juice.
No, I was like, and I struggled with it. Even like be like, I want to. Patty is so, she's like really.
Oh man, how's it going?
You're going, Maria?
Things of mine.
But I just, I have so much to do before this. There's another.
We'll come up with a better system here.
No, I,
I don't know, not really, might have given it to you at this time.
You can trade with me if you'd like.
I think, no, I think-
Difference pretty similar.
Well, one of them leans a little
Oh.
bit. It's not
Like it pushes you forward, though,
No,
right?
this is okay. Oh, I'm short.
Andy,
Race is
did you
actually
happen
good.
to see this parking ticket thing?
I just put it, it was addressed to you, so
Oh, okay, sure.
they paid for it, whatever, but I gave it to you.
Thanks. And I don't know, it's just, they were parked along with a two-way street or something like that.
Rachel and John
The other side, I don't
had
know.
a first.
They probably took a picture of it,
And
so I don't know.
it,
I'll check it.
it went all over their,
They didn't take a picture.
house,
There's
one
lots
of the
of pictures.
basement.
They were parked.
Oh,
wrong
no.
way, facing the
and
wrong
they
way.
fixed it all one day.
Of course, 200 signs, and everybody was parked the same way, and they all got tickets.
He's ready to lose his life.
That is a problem. One car parked as he went the way.
It's the same
Yeah,
as, like,
everybody-
they say-
That
It's
is.
the same as like jumping off a cliff, right? They say if your friend jump off a cliff, are you gonna jump off a cliff? Probably not, right? Probably not.
But you expect me to read a sign though, right?
I know, well, yeah, that isn't a thing, yeah.
With the kids? Is that the one you're talking about? Oh. And did they say why?
Usually I don't know what they do.
Is it leather?
This is better.
I mean, when we first got to it, like, such an old lady purse.
I have a person shoe.
I have a shoe problem, but I only wear sneakers now.
Hello, I would like to welcome everybody to the January 27th, 2025 regular council session for the city of Idaho Springs. And I would like to, it's called to order 7 p.m. I'd like to start us off with roll call, please.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Kate Collier. Here. Lisa Manifold. Here. Jim Clark. Janine Mariani. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Here.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Here, all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us tonight. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda for January 27th, 2025 meeting.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. Any discussion of the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? Yes.
There was one change on the agenda,
Oh, thank you for catching that, Andy. What was that?
the swearing in of the officer.
Oh, yeah, yes. Let me find that.
Number 9.
Uh, 10. Yeah.
Oh, 10, all right.
We'd just like to postpone that to the next meeting,
Yeah.
so his family can be here.
And Scott, since you made the,
In my motion to change number 10, exclude the officer swearing in.
thank you, Scott, and
I'll
Janine,
second the amended motion.
thank you. Any discussion on the amended motion?
No.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, good catch there, Andy. Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? Hearing none, we'll move along to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from January 13th, 2025.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And we'll move along to approval of the bills. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the bills to January 27th of 2025.
Thank you, Jeremy. And do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Kate. Any discussion of the bills?
Yeah, I had a question. I think it was under yours, chief. There was something called the Colorado Rangers and it was an annual fee that was $7,000.
$7,000.
What are they called? What is that?
So the Colorado Rangers are an organization of volunteers, basically. And they provide us a lot of law enforcement services for special events. So, like, for example, during 4th of July event, they're all certified, post-certified officers. So they come and they help us in these special events. They've helped us with traffic control. So like 4th of July is the best example. There's typically anywhere from 6 to 8 rangers that come and work here. So I'm not sure what kinds of people like to do that. They're people of all types of walks of life. In fact, one of our current officers, Officer Ron Baylor, was a Colorado Ranger. So it's an organization that exists along the Front Range, down in the metro area, Colorado Springs and Pueblo. The other thing is, it's really kind of an insurance policy for us. If we ever had a natural disaster or we had a bigger event, I could call and they would have 10 to 20 people here, probably within 24 hours to help assist our agency. So
That's awesome.
that's what they are.
Yeah, so the annual fee just gives access to the volunteers.
Exactly. And it's well worth that as far as us not having to either pay overtime to officers And then also help with all these events like the various things, the half marathon to a lot of events in the summer. They're here almost every weekend in the summer.
Thank you.
And they are all certified, they're all pro certified.
Yes.
Any further questions of the bills? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Kate Collier,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Bellis,
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And, sorry, a small procedural note. Mary Jane was asking to be let in, and I'm just not sure if she can't get into the building or if she's trying to, be let in online for public comment.
I don't see her online.
We just walked in that door, it isn't locked. Or on Zoom.
Andy, thank you for checking. I tell you what, since she is making an effort,
Let's do it now.
we will allow her to speak under unscheduled public comment. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if she's been trying to get in online. Thank you, Dylan.
I don't know, I don't have her on
Okay, all right.
Zoom. I could send an invitation to her email, but I'm not.
Gotcha. Okay. Do we have any public comment either online or signed up on our sheet tonight?
No one signed up, Mayor.
Okay, all right. And again, we'll be swearing in our officer, our new officer at a meeting soon. And we don't have anything with liquor licensing authority. I assume we have our finance officer with us tonight.
Yes.
Oh, good. Hi, greetings.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, council members.
Nice
Nice
to
to
see you,
see you
Lorraine.
there. Thank you. Tonight we have both in your packets, both November and December's financial statements. Since the Novembers were ready mid or to late December and you didn't have a December meeting, they're in there for your review. We'll be looking at the Decembers, however, and I'm going to share my screen. These are marked preliminary, as they always are in December. Are you able to see the screen at this point with the financials?
Yeah, Lorraine, is it possible to enlarge that a little bit? Oh,
How's
there you
that?
go. Much better.
I need to minimize this.
And Lorraine, just for council's benefit, this starts on page 68 in the electronic packet.
Okay, thank you. And I'm using a separate version, so I can change from page to page a little easier than I can on the version that's in the packet.
Okay.
Decembers are always marked preliminary at this time of year because they are, number one, of course, subject to audit. But also because at the end of the year, there's a lot of transactions that have to take place once all the moving parts of year end kind of settle down. At this point in January, the city is still receiving invoices for work done in December or maybe even November, and they're likely to still receive some through, February, if not a little bit later. Some of their requests for reimbursements through grants and items of that nature haven't yet been submitted or received. So these are preliminary at this point in time. And then with all of the reviews that we do to make sure things are in the right periods and the right years, some things could move back and forth between the next year, the last year. And therefore these will change. But nevertheless, it's like it gives you a good sense of where things are at this point in time as we get ready to wrap up 2024. Your cash position, as usual, on page 1 is a very strong 6.6 million. And as you know, oops, the $6,616,000 is spread amongst the various funds that the city has, with about 800,000 in the general fund and more than that in some of the tax funds and utility funds. So that number that's in the general fund will be the first item on the balance sheet of the general fund. So I'm going there next on the next page, the 845,000 in cash is in the combined fund. And then you have other items there that especially receivables, property taxes that will come in next year, leases receivable that get reviewed at year end and will change slightly. And then you have a fair amount, of liabilities, most of which are deferred property taxes that haven't yet been received, and some of the accounts payable and wages payable. But going to the end of that second page, there is the fund equity, which shows at 1.7 million, which is at the beginning of 2024. On these financial statements, what shows is fund equity is always at the beginning of the year you're looking at. And then it shows you how much things have changed during the course of the current year. So as planned, you had drawn down the fund balance in the general fund, but it's a little bit more, I think, than planned. So we're going to keep an eye on that and still ending up that fund equity in the general fund of 1,145,000. Going to the income statement, we show the revenues and expenditures coming in. And most of your revenues are coming in pretty strong, although the property taxes and the sales taxes are a bit lower than we'd like to see them. You want to see those around 99, 100% if you can. And as you're aware, the sales taxes have changed a little from what the budgeted amount of 2.2 million was. Although they're very similar to what you got in 2022, where you had 1,889,000, and 2023, 1,923,000. So far, you've got 1,908,000, and some more may be arriving. Your final sales taxes don't come in from December sales until February, and so we've got an estimate in there at this point, and it'll be an actual figure when we know it. Your licenses and permits are coming in strong. You had more development than had been planned, so building permits exceeded the budget by a fair amount. That whole category is 163% of budget, so that's good. And you have other taxes, which are generally coming from things that the city levies. Your motor vehicle registration fees when people register their cars in Idaho Springs, county road and bridge tax. There was none showing yet in December, so that may be coming later, but you don't always get it much, if any, at the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. So that's probably all right, about where it's going to be. Fines are ahead of where they were budgeted, so that's a strong revenue for 2024. And then you have a total showing on the next page of 4.0 million. And you had budgeted 3.9 million. So your revenues so far have come in a little stronger than budget, which is very good. In the general fund expenditures, I usually go a little more quickly through these. But essentially, you've got a fair amount of overages at this point in the year in some of your departments that's going to be putting your general fund budget a little bit over what had been planned. And so if things don't change much with the year-end review, we may be coming back to you with a necessity for a budget, a supplemental budget for 2024. The streets is about 87% of its budget. Admin is 111, community promotion slightly over 100, building inspection much higher than planned, but that was offset by revenues that were much higher than planned. Police is at 110% of budget. Court 101, contribution to the fire department 107. So some of these expenses are just coming in higher than hoped. Parks is right on track. And the whole general fund is about 8.6% over in these preliminary statements. Again, they may change as we get more invoices in, or as we look at where certain invoices were posted that might be for next year or previous year, and fix that. The cemetery trust fund has a little bit interest earned, and that's it. The ramp fund for Colorado Boulevard is being steadily drawn down with projects, but here your revenues are over your expenditures by 29,000 because of the strong interest earnings and little activity in expenditures. So when we look at the interest, you've got almost 40,000 during the year, and so far very little has been charged to Colorado Boulevard Fund in 2024 in expenditures. Your improvement fund. This is the capital improvement fund, and we have some good news here. We have found that the wastewater fund has regained its cash, and therefore, because it had borrowed cash from this improvement fund in the past, we were able to pay a lot of that back. I paid quite a bit. It's just a paper entry because there's combined cash for all the funds. And so the share of one changes to the share of the other when one fund pays back another. And so now you're left with about $444,000 worth of money that had been lent to the wastewater fund back in 2019. This still hasn't been repaid. And it may be when we finish the year and adjustments and accruals and evaluation that we may be able to pay all of that off for 2024. If not, it should be happening soon in 2025. So that's a real good benefit of the extra revenue that's been going into your wastewater fund from your sales taxes. But the improvement fund itself has had its revenues coming in steadily in the sales and use tax and the building use tax. So the sales taxes, like the general fund sales taxes, are a little bit down, but the building use tax, because of all that activity, is quite a bit more than the budget of 8,000. Of course, you never know so much what's going to happen from year to year on that. And you also have gotten some donations this year, and so this fund is doing well. Its expenditures have been large due to all the projects that you've got underway. You've completed through the point of these financial statements about 78% of those projects, but you can see how many of them listed here have really had a lot happening there. A few yet to be started or rolling over to another year, I would assume. Revenue over expenditures in this fund is under you're spending down the money that has accumulated in this fund by $1.8 million during 2024. So a lot of action in getting those accumulated monies spent. Conservation Trust Fund is from the lottery. There's a revenue over expenditures this year of 14.9. There has been interest earnings and then the usual quarterly amounts that come in, a little bit less than 12,000, which had been budgeted, but the expenditures have been none so far. And those monies just roll over to next year if they're not spent for future parks projects. The street sales tax fund has about $1.2 million in it, and all of that's available for street projects. And then you're receiving interest on that. Here it is on another line. About 52,000 so far this year. Revenues come in of about a little under $1 million a year in the sales taxes for that fund. And the expenditures primarily on the debt for the bonds are, over 5,000, over 6,000 per year. So there's a little bit of leeway in there for additional projects, each year. Or for using some of those revenues to, pay off additional debt if you, do go ahead and, issue more of the bonds that have been authorized already. Here's the water fund. It's in good shape. It has 1.2 million in cash and, more like 1.5 million in current assets. And then you've got liabilities that, are about 1.4 million, a lot of them in these various loans that you owe to the Colorado Water Conservation Board. Revenues. Sales tax are a little below the budget, 93, similar to the general fund and the street sales tax fund. And then you've got your, billings to your utility customers that are about below 90% of what was budgeted. Some interest, miscellaneous, Colorado Water Conservation Board grant have also come in during the year. Next, moving on to the expenditures, your operating expenditures are at about 84% of budget. The distribution of water through the lines at right around 100% of budget. And then you've got some capital projects that are about 63% of budget. And debt service, which is right on target. That's a known amount that's going to be each year. So this fund has, expenditures greater than revenues, with all the projects, operations, and debt service being paid here of 1,775,000. So we want to keep our eye on that, make sure that fund continues to track upwards. Or I'm sorry, to continues to have enough money so that it can start to track upwards. And you want to always keep your thoughts tuned on when and how large of user fees you need to increase for the water rates. Wastewater fund, this is the one I mentioned earlier, that it now only has this $443,000 liability to the sales tax improvement fund. It used to have over $2 million liability, so that's a big change and a big improvement. And even with repaying those monies at this point, there's about $750,000 in combined cash there. You still have $10,000 with the Colorado Water Resources Authority, and that can be requested at any time to be paid, reimbursed to the city. And you've got receivables from the bills that are outstanding, and then you've got a lot of loans down here that need to be paid over time. Wastewater fund revenues, sales taxes are mimic the ones we saw in the water fund and in the general fund. At about 93%, we've got charges for services. Just like the water fund, we're below 90% of what the budget was. And then you've got some miscellaneous and other fees going in here. Your operational expenditures are like 79% for admin, or that was operations, 78 for collections, and well below what was budgeted as possible projects for capital, and right on target for debt service. So this fund is in balance if you have not exceeded your budget in the wastewater fund. Parking enterprise fund, same here. There's about 1.4 million in assets. And you've got fees coming in of about that exceeded your budget here, 685,000 in parking fees for the year, plus interest earned, the CDOT contribution when you start to build the parking lot. continues to be budgeted, but of course not received yet. You've had a payment in lieu of construction from one of your developers. And then you've got expenditures that mostly have to do with work going toward the parking facility. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, any questions for Lorraine? Lorraine, thank you.
Welcome, Mayor. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Maria.
Oh, good night. All right, well, informative as usual. And do we have Mary Jane online with us, Dylan?
Doesn't look like it, no. Yes,
Oh, okay. Mary Jane, are you able to hear us?
I'm just, giving her the ability to talk.
Gotcha.
Can you hear?
Yes, and Mary Jane, let me apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, but I had informed council that you would be speaking under unscheduled public comment. And I think everybody is very aware that we lost a very good friend. You lost a friend and mentor, and she was quite a visionary. And that's how I wanted to tee that up for you. Please, we're anxious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the whole, oh my God, I'm gonna cry now because she was so important to me. But Dana Crawford passed away Thursday night, and she was one of the most important people to placemaking and historic preservation, not only in the state of Colorado, but in the country and globally. So for having her put the spotlight on Idaho Springs, nothing to do with the Argo, but Idaho Springs was brilliant for us. And I would just love all of us to acknowledge her contribution to placemaking and historic preservation in the state of Colorado. And I just wanted people to know that that happened. There will be an amazing memorial sometime in April. And Idaho Springs will have an opportunity to participate. We will also be, I get to introduce, at the CPI conference, I get to basically open the conference talking about Dana Crawford, and starting the conference. And then the Dana Crawford dinner is May 15th. I'm not asking for anything from anybody, but I don't think any of us can even fathom how much she contributed to historic preservation and placemaking in the state of Colorado. And having her adopt Idaho Springs was amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Mary Jane, and I think we all 100% agree with you, and she will be sorely missed. And also some very kind words about someone who we were very fortunate to have involved with our city and are just a real icon.
Big long life.
Right, so she will have a cardboard cutout at least in the first cable car going up the mountain. All right,
good.
and I'm gonna stay on and listen to Mike and everything else, but thank you. Her heart was here, just so you know.
Yep, we do know. Thank you, Mary Jane. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, I know we all do.
We do, I might mention that Idaho Springs does have a good contingent going to the Saving Places Conference sponsored by Colorado Preservation Inc. That's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. So we have several members of our staff going and also members of our Historic Preservation Review Commission going. So we're going to be well represented there.
Well, that's great. I know I'm looking forward to it myself. Thank you very much.
You guys.
We will go to resolutions, starting with number 7. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, resolution number 7, series 2025, a resolution approving the amendment and restatement of 3 easement agreements and the termination of one easement agreement previously entered into by the city, Argo Holdings, and Mary Jane Lovely concerning the Mighty Argo redevelopment project and Virginia Canyon Mountain Park to finalize the scope of certain legal descriptions, eliminate duplication, and correct and exhibit error.
All right, that was a mouthful, Scott. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. All right, we have no ordinance first or second readings tonight. City Attorney Carmen, welcome, welcome. I just wanted to check in and see if you had anything further for us tonight.
I do not. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, well, thank you. And Andy, looks like we have one request for action, and do I have a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve a letter agreement from Mayberry and Company LLC for preparation of the 2024 financial audit for an amount not to exceed $15,900.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And Andy, before we move on, I just wanted to check in and see if you had anything further for us tonight.
Nothing further this time.
All right.
Mayor, if I may.
Oh, yes.
Andy, did we know why we didn't get the Reconnecting Communities Planning Grant? Did they give reason? I don't know if they give
We
reason.
don't, but my understanding is we do have the opportunity to get feedback, and we're gonna take advantage of that. We haven't had that session yet, so I can report back to council with what we learned from that.
That would be awesome. The other thing is, the pedestrian bridge, it definitely will help all of, town, but it also very much positively impacts the school. I would really like to see the school board step up and be a part of this moving
I
forward.
agree 100%.
Because they pushed this when they did their bond in 2021. Oh, we're gonna do a bridge. And where have they been? We're doing the heavy lifting. And I don't and now we didn't get this grant that we were hoping for. And now we have to look around for other things like,
What are they doing? to
Yeah,
help?
what are-
What are they?
how are they helping with this? They talk about it. And I hear people wanting to know where the bridge is, but this bridge doesn't just benefit us. Now, I realize that the stuff that we were looking at around 103 was definitely more for us, but it will also benefit them. And I am really disappointed that we have not seen more of them. And I have made this known to various board members, but I'm saying it now in public because,
I agree.
yeah, I'm really disappointed in this. And this is, like I said, this is not any negative comment towards us or the staff, just this needs to be more of a community project because it definitely benefits more than just the city.
Lisa, that was a good question. I think all of us were probably wondering when we saw that. And I do know that they were interested in giving us a letter of support for that.
I mean, but if I remember correctly, wasn't this part of the whole plan of moving over there? That there was gonna be an access for the kids?
There's a lot of things in the bond that.
I know, but my point is Chuck, could this, and Andy, could this be a work session discussion? Because it's not only affecting the fact that the kids can't walk to school safely. It's also affecting the library directly, and I imagine that there, to some extent, the rec center is feeling a little bit, although from that meeting that we had, someday in the future, the kids will be dropped off so that they can come to the library. But it's affecting everything. The non-connectivity between the school and the town is glaring at this point in time.
Well, Kate, I for one agree with you, and I think when Andy has an opportunity to get that feedback, perhaps we can spend a little bit of time on a future work session, because I know we would all like to understand.
I think that, I think the school board should attend, and I think that Libby would be interested in putting in, speaking at that same event. So, I'm not speaking for Libby, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It is a concern for all of us that we're not able to take care of the kids the way we want to.
Well, a little true.
I do have another question. I know that there was a conversation, I don't even know how long ago, about us possibly doing the building inspections internally. It sounds like we're still working with Safe Built. Is there anything else has been discussed that way?
The city has received, in the last couple of weeks, a draft, IGA, a very preliminary draft IGA from Lickery County for consideration. Staff has reviewed it. We've sent it to our attorney for her review as well and input. So yes, we are still, in conversation with the county about that possibility of maybe, our building inspections and plan review would be part of the county operations. There's a lot of details we would need to work out with that. We also did have a good meeting with Safe Built, which has been our long-term provider. And they've had some change in staff there and realignments. And I think it was a very productive meeting. So we're in conversation with Safe Built as well. I think we're committed we are committed to either seeing if we can progress with the county and come to an agreement with the county, or to put out for bid our building services, because we've been saying, we do this from time to time with a lot of the services we have. So we're still committed to that. The region's taking a little longer. Is this offer with the county said, okay, well, maybe we should consider this.
I didn't mean that it was taking longer. It popped back into my head when I saw your notes. So yeah, I just wanted to ask a question.
Well, and are we looking, if we just stay with Safe Built, I would like to see us have the ability to have more than 2 days a week.
Right, that is
That's
a
the
key
goal.
point, for sure. And
You know,
then
for
that
as
is.
much money as we spend and Georgetown or the county spends,
Yep.
they're making a lot of money on 2 days a week availability.
All right, so we will keep council informed as that moves forward. Might be off a little bit, but I believe that we had budgeted $101,000.
For 2 days a week.
And we're certainly looking to improve that customer experience for sure. Moving to Assistant City Administrator, Guy, just wanted to check in and make sure you didn't have anything further for us tonight.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you. And Dylan, thank you again to you and Maria for getting us squared away down in Colorado Springs for the Saving Places Conference. So there will be some of us that will be gone Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And my understanding is no one from the city will be there on Saturday. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. And
I think there is one HPRC board member who's gonna be there Saturday.
oh, for the CLG training?
Am I right about that, Dylan? Or do I have that wrong?
No, you're right. I think Clark
Clark
Strickland, who's our new HPRC member.
Yes, yes.
Is signed up to attend.
Okay.
That is
All right.
correct.
And that's a camp for our certified local government. So he'll get a lot out of that on Saturday.
A good training opportunity for to kind of get him up to speed.
Yeah, and I saw it goes all day. So all right. Well, thank you. And Dylan, I just want to make sure you didn't have anything else further tonight.
Nothing for me, thank you.
All righty. And then Wonder, got your report and wanted to make sure you didn't have anything further for us tonight.
No, just the typo that you so graciously pointed out. We don't have over 2,000 businesses. It's like 215. So 6 haven't renewed, so that percentage is almost 3%. Not of 2,000, but 215. So I apologize.
Well, thank you for that correction. And still, you know, to have more than 97% of businesses, be with us on a timely fashion is pretty good to see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And Chief, you've got one request for action with our architects, but do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the contract with Delaney Architecture and Engineering Partners for police station renovations, which include obtaining a Green Globes building certification for 505,000. How did I say that? I don't know how to say that.
505,360.
There you go, from line item 21-00-7045.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
Numbers up for a minute.
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. Any comments?
Let's get it done.
All right, hearing none, roll call please.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Janine Mariani. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And Chief, wanted to check in with you, make sure you didn't have anything, further for us tonight.
Nothing further, Mayor.
And I'm just delighted, but we will be fully staffed, with this latest officer, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, nice, very good. All right, Public Works, we've got one request for action. And, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve service and repairs to the fire suppression system at the city property located at 2060 Minor Street, the Heritage Museum and Visitor Center by Frontier Fire in the amount of $13,354.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. And any discussion?
You,
Yeah.
I can't remember, is our bid policy $20,000 that we need multiple? Okay.
Yep.
So is this price competitive, you think?
It is competitive, and Frontier Fire has been doing a lot of the service and repairs to this building. It's just better to keep it with one company rather than, going different companies doing different things in here. I'd rather keep it all in one house than, they've kind of, kept track of what's going on with this fire suppression system and backflow preventer, things of that nature, so. They haven't messed anything up and flooded the building yet, so.
All right, any further questions?
I do. I had a couple people come into the library and ask me, have you guys fully moved in to the new facilities and everything? Cause
I just got internet Friday,
Okay.
so I have just started moving my office down there today.
okay,
We have moved some equipment and tools and things like that, but it's been a kind of a slow roll, because we're still trying to handle our daily activities as well.
gotcha. Okay, cool.
All right, I have a first and second. Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes, and Paul, want to make sure you didn't have anything further to share with us tonight?
Not tonight, thank you very much.
All right, appreciate it. Any questions for Paul? All right, and we'll move on to Ed. Ed, thank you for your report and wanted to check in, see if you had anything to share with us.
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. And we've got, and this is under Mayor and Council, we've got this Regional Resilience Mixer and Leadership Breakfast Initiative. And I have this on my calendar, but it's not written in here, just in case anybody wanted to go to that. Is it in the date?
There is the invitation, I believe it's included, it's the 13th and 14th.
Oh, thank you, Andy. All right, 13th and
I
14th.
believe it's the evening of the 13th and then, the morning of the 14th.
Thank you. I'm going to chorus. It's on my calendar, but I did not have that off the top of my head. And then we do have appointments for the regional resilience team. And that was going to be Kate as the primary and Lisa as the second, correct?
Mhm.
And I want to thank you for making yourselves available for that as well. And then under the Housing Authority, Janine will be the primary. And again, this is pending similar with the economic development. What you decide on what will work as far as days and times. That's the only reason why it's a little bit of a gray area right now. So Janine will be the primary, and Kate and Lisa have graciously agreed to be seconds on this. Should we'll see how this shakes out. So it's a bit fluid right now. And I want to thank you for that as well. I did not have anything further. We have no executive session on the schedule. And I just wanted to check in to see if anybody had anything further. Janine, yeah.
The business licenses just reminded me, and I don't know if it's a question for, but where are we at with the regulation with the hotels and the licensing for, were people needing to submit? I can't remember. There was something by January 1st.
No,
No.
the ultimate ordinance was approved with a submission deadline of February 28th.
Okay,
So first week of January, we sent out letters to all the hotels, motels, lodging operators in the city. And I'm going to send a follow-up first, or like the next week, early part of next week as like a reminder. I've been working with a couple of them to the application, but there's more that I haven't heard from that I would expect to hear from.
Thank you, Dylan. Any further questions before I adjourn, Lisa?
I have a couple.
Sure.
First, I want to thank Andy because I heard from two constituents last week who pointed out after our discussion 2 weeks ago that we've had lights out on Minor Street for 10 months. And I feel like just as a customer to Excel, we deserve better service from Excel for that, like full
Yes.
stop.
And you did see that our city attorney is drilling down on that further.
Yes, but my constituents got back to me. I also had constituents that asked me if we could make sure that all of our flags were at half mast for the death
Oh,
of
yeah.
our president.
Yeah.
And they were, but I had a request from the library today, that we reevaluate our parking. I know this has come up before, but 1 15-minute spot, and then all those spots in front of the library, 1 hour spots. And then everything else is residential, but, those have not changed, and I know those are challenging for library patrons.
And I think Paul was on that.
There's a little bit of a ball dropping with because I wasn't ordering whole new signs, I was actually just ordering the replacement stickers for that hour. And our supplier kind of forgot me and then forgot me again, and then it's months before I realized that I need to get back on this, where's my stickers? So they should be coming really soon. I
Good.
really apologize about that.
No, thank you.
Lisa, we can all use reminders once in a while, so thank you, because that was absolutely a very reasonable request. And I think it will help the library because that 3 hours is just perfect for tourists that want to come
Yeah.
and dine and not be checking out library.
No, we need
It
1
is.
hour so that
Yeah.
our library patrons, but we also need a
Right.
15-minute
I
spot
agree.
for the people that are just dropping and going.
I think the plan for the 15-minute spot is to return that by the book depository there.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
That's a perfect place for it.
All right.
3 hour spots giving away our parking.
It is, yeah, exactly.
And it's hurting the library, quite frankly.
Yeah, oh, no, 100%. We are not going to meet again on February 10th. We're gonna have a regular meeting and a work session. And before I adjourn, I just want to make sure, anybody have anything further? Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your patience. It's 7:47. Adjourn.